I'm going to stop right this second, and I'm going to say that I'm going to scold you on something yet again. Well, yeah, I think you're trying to tell.
Reprimand away.
It was really fun, good conversation. Because again, I'm going to tell Marki, no, you're. One second.
Now, am I going to reprimand you now?
1 second.
Hey, Ronnie Jr.
All right, so back with another one with Marki Costello. We did an episode before. How you doing?
I'm doing great. It's been really so busy in a good way,
Mm-hmm.
So I'm doing great.
Are you instantly judging me? Because look at how lame is this? I got the what is it? The stand. I don't have the stand. I was not fully prepared. And they say lack of preparation, can be an issue to your career. Or are you like, you know what? Just have fun, and get with a fun episode regardless.
I'm not judging.
I feel silly. This
don't feel silly. You know what? Go for it. Look at. I just came from the gym 40 minutes ago. I ran in, had a cup of coffee, and ate my protein sandwich. This is the year all about. I've lost like 45 pounds. I go to the gym 5 days a week. I'm sort of like, I was on camera for Love Island recently. I coached 2 people for the new spinoff, and I was getting my hair and makeup done. And I literally said to the makeup artist, I'm like, I am 59. I'll be 60 in December. And I'm proud of my age. You know what? To grow old is a privilege, right? Mm-hmm. So unless I really wish I could look like Kris Jenner's facelift, but that's a whole other story. But my point to that is as I was looking at myself in the mirror, I was like, I don't want all this makeup. As you get older, all that makeup, and it accentuates all your wrinkles. So I'm all natural. I got my glow from my pump.
There it is. Yeah, I was in the sauna earlier. So it's like that thing. And also to your point, and we'll get into like the topics of reality TV and talk about Marki and her brand training, which I've done for a while. Actually, before I do anything, I'm going to stop right this second, and I'm going to say that I'm going to scold you on something yet again. I did last episode, but before I do the mean stuff, but it's not that bad. I want to do something nice.
Ronnie, I can bring it, as my kids say. Wait, before you bring it, can I just say one thing? I was at a lacrosse game for my 15-year-old who's about to be 16, Finn, and I'm at this away game, and I go into the stadium. I go into the stands for the visitor because we were the visitors, and no one is in the visitor stands. Everybody's on the other side because it was covered, and it was maybe going to rain that night. And so I get there. It's the second quarter. My son makes this amazing goal, and I stand up and I go, "That's how we do it." And I kid you not, I see this like little old man that starts to walk towards me, like to reprimand me. And I literally went like this, Ronnie. I go, no. I go, just turn around. No, I knew what was going to come out of it. He was going to, and I go, I'm not the one. Because I'm going to give it to you fucking back, motherfucker. Because if I cannot be at my son's game and say that's how we do it when he scores, and so the guy like goes, well, I was just going to give you some advice. I was going to, now I'm going to have the refs kick you out. I looked at him. I bring my glasses down and I'm on the phone to Lucas. I go, I double dog dare ya. Because you know what? How punk rock to be kicked out of your son's lacrosse game. I was like, bring it. But my point to all that is you can't say anything to me anymore. I'm like Teflon.
Well, yeah, I think you're trying to tell
reprimand away.
You're saying without saying. You're like, Ronnie, you better say something. If you better say it, you better make it count because I got you. Anyways, it's obviously
it's for me. You better come correct, baby doll.
Obviously, it's fun. We'll do that in a second, but we will do the highlight moment first for a second. Marki, how amazing is this? Why don't you get a look at this? Because I was like in my head, I'm like, how can I tell whoever how great Marki is? I took your classes 100 years ago. I worked for your office. Like we've had really wonderful times. How can I like really do it? So I got our friend Russell Ray Silva to hit you with the VO voiceover, and this is what it sounds like.
Okay. Marki Costello, the premier hosting teacher, marketing specialist, brand expert, television personality, and casting director. With a lifetime career in show business as the granddaughter of Lou Costello from the legendary comedy duo Abbott and Costello, Marki's expertise has helped coach over 20,000 broadcast personalities within the creative fields. As a champion of unscripted talent, her entrepreneurship achievements include her own business as founder of CMEG Talent Management. For more information on Marki Costello, check out her Instagram at Marki Costello, MarkiCostello. becomeahost.com or email direct at info@cmeg.com.
You see?
That to me, I love that. I love that.
Yeah. Well, because here was the thing. We had done an episode and it was like an hour and 40. There was like a bunch of cuts from it. It was really fun. Good conversation. Because again, I'm going to tell Marky, no, you're. Uh-oh. 1 second.
Now, am I going to reprimand you now?
1 second.
And we're
Okay.
back. We're back.
The struggle bus. I have no idea what even happened there, by the way. What was I even saying? I was just going to tell you that we did an episode and I was like, oh, it was a good time. And like, how can I re-say all the stuff we already said? We talked about Abbott and Costello. We talked about Joan Rivers. We talked about like creating and the new way to do it versus the old way and how to, hone your craft. So I was like, what can I do? Did you like that? That's your very first commercial. I mean, not very first, but like with me.
Yeah, I absolutely love that little promo. I want you to send it to me because I thought it was fabulous. But I thought today what we could do, being mindful of your audience and giving them what they want, because
we care about me, Marky.
Well,
you always tell me, you're like, oh, because I'm always like, oh, and I say and you're like, no.
I think what makes me a successful coach, on a media coach, like this morning I just worked with a bunch of F1 formula racers, doing all of their media for their their press for all of their races, whether they win or lose. I've been going back and forth to Oregon, working with Nike, with some of the athletes with their name, image, and likeness, NIL. I just coached, Kendall and Olivia from Love Island, the spinoff after the Villa. What I think I've coached so many successful people, it's insane. I think what makes my coaching different than everybody else's is I say two things. It's brand. Like, what's your brand? Why are we watching you? If there's 80 million podcasts and 20 million people on, there's 7 billion people in the world, 2 billion of them are doing a podcast or doing social content or creating content. You've got to be pivoting and you've got to connect to the audience. They have so many. Look at me. I'm scrolling at what's new. Most people say the same shit, but when someone is mindful that there's someone beyond that lens consuming this content, those are the people I'm going to stay and linger and watch and follow, because they're mindful of my time and that I have so many choices. So I say that to you, Ronnie, like, I know you want to make it's about your brand, but today let's talk about reality. There's so much reality coming out this summer, so much reality that just aired. Unscripted is never going away. Unscripted is more popular than ever. I consume everything in unscripted. I love unscripted. And so we can.
Well, I think there's what we enjoy, like you watch it with your bonbons, but it's also like, I think the enjoyment is in terms of for value for others, to enjoy what we're talking about here, is that it's an escape. Like, it's so ridiculous. Like, I don't know who you necessarily talk to on Love Island, but I don't really watch the show like that. But I know people will literally go 6 days a week watching the show.
You didn't watch Love Island USA?
I mean,
Ronnie,
a little bit.
You know how many people watched it? It was the biggest reality show of 2024. The biggest.
So which ones do you know? Who are your contacts? Who are the ones that you know? And what did you do with them?
I mean, Ariana Madix hosted it. Okay, from Vanderpump and her whole
I saw it. Yeah.
It's not just about, I just coached Kendall and Olivia that were on Love Island USA 2024. Obviously, the new one starts shooting in Fiji. But it did so huge. I don't even think ITV even knew how big because USA Love Island has been around for like the last 6 or 7 years, and they've really tried to do it. Different hosts, different. It was on CBS, then it wasn't, then it was streaming on Peacock, but it found its footing. Because I'm a huge Love Island UK super fan for years. Tommy and Molly May, love. But it found its footing in 2024. And I chalked it up to, because you know what, I was having this conversation with someone in casting yesterday. You chalk it up to, it was a great cast. It was great. Great synergy. When you have a great cast, when you have like that, lightning doesn't strike twice sometimes, and sometimes it does. It's very cast dependent. But, like a Jersey Shore, why Jersey Shore was so successful and Jersey Shore Family Vacation, is that cast of characters. I mean, Snooki is brilliant TV. Wow, Mike
I
the
like
Station.
I like Sammy a lot.
Snooki any day of the week.
Yeah. And that show's good because they like you always say, they pivoted. Like, it's not the show that it used to be. It's very silly now. Like, they all kind of jump in a way. They either give you silly or something really serious. You know, like there's stuff with like JWoww's mom, or, you know, even like Sammy, you know, is now pregnant.
Right.
It just, they have a really healthy mix. And I feel like they do different level than like your Real Housewives shows, because your Real Housewives shows, it feels like they divide amongst each other to win, whereas Jersey Shore feels like they'll fight on the show, but it kind of feels like their group chat is like, we're gonna all get our money together, regardless of how they feel about, you know, arguing on the TV or Angelino or whatever. They just feel different to me. I really enjoy that show.
I do too. Angelina drives me crazy. I honestly think there's times where like they could just get rid of her and it would be so much better. But when she does work, it works. She's just so bitter about her, you know, taking 10 years off because of her stupidity. It's like, just own it and keep it moving and stop making everything about you, Angelina, because you're just not that interesting. Like when I heard like there was when Snooki quit because of Angelina and took that year off. It wasn't great. Sorry, if it's going to be Snooki or you, Angelina, I hope Sally Ann every time is picking Snooki, FYI. You know, and this brings me, I got a little scoop for you. Here's a little scoop for your Patreon audience.
Tell me.
Well, I heard New Jersey, you know how it's on pause and everybody's wondering, will it be Team Melissa, Team Teresa, yada, yada, yada. Well, I heard that
you're talking about Bravo TV Real Housewives, not Jersey Shore.
Right. I've pivoted now. You got to stay with me, Ronnie. I move fast in reality. I watch everything.
Sorry, the struggle bus is happening today.
Struggle bus is happening for Ronnie today. So basically, you know how they've been on pause. Now, this will be their second summer without shooting. So they're basically been on pause 2 years because they shoot, then it airs like 8 months, 9 months later. Right. So this will be their second summer of not shooting. And they purposely, the network, Bravo, wanted them to have this timeout because they were all demanding, like, I'm not coming back if Teresa does. I'm not coming back if Melissa does. I'm not filming with this one. I'm not. And that I think the network and the production company wanted enough time to pass for them to realize, what are you without this show? Not a lot. And so at the end of the day, you will shoot with whoever we tell you to shoot with. You know what I mean? The drama works with you hating each other, you and Teresa. It works when they can all shoot together and be. So hopefully they kind of take them off their hiatus, and hopefully the cast realizes we need this show. We don't have the power to be like, we're not coming back if this one doesn't come back.
Wait, but what makes you feel so sure about this? You're saying like, I've got a scoop, I've got sort of an insight. What makes you think this?
Because I got some inside scoop from the production company. But I don't want to get sued.
Either way, I think they should take their break. You know what I mean? And but I don't know that I would word it the way you're wording it. You're wording it very like, you better learn your lesson and you're going to do what we tell you. Like, I don't know if I would be on that level, but I get the concept of, you don't really like, here's the difference. Marki running her branding and training of, you know, the Love Island cast or whatnot, you know, here, Patreon or whatever the case, you run it on your own. But if you're on a show that is put together through Bravo and the production company, you do have to kind of be in the space that they provide for you. You're right. Even if you've been there a lot of years and you kind of want to be elevated, you still have to follow a certain, like, you know, it's not your show, unfortunately, even if you're the star of the show, you know.
Well, I think what you have to realize is, will the Real Housewives of New Jersey go on with or without a couple of them? Absolutely. You know, I think where Bravo made the mistake with New York was getting rid of everybody instead of keeping like a handful of them, right? Like kind of have the new guard, you know, be taught by the old guard in the beginning until it just cycles itself into something organically new versus, I hated the New York cast. I thought it was insufferable, except for Jenna Lyons. I like Jenna Lyons. But I just felt like it was just, they were all, and also too, we're in a slippery slope with the Real Housewives franchise. And I'll tell you why. It's been airing for so long that people that are going on the show for the first time think they have it rigged. Well, if I do this and if I do that, I'll get more airtime. And if I do this, this will be good for my storyline. And I think that's a slippery slope because I think you're discounting how savvy the audience is to smell, you're being fake. You're not being genuine. This is too disingenuous. I can't follow. Like, I hated Brynn because Brynn just would like, oh, let me do this. Oh, this is not getting enough attention. Oh, I've been this. This happened to me. Like, meaning it's like, stop. Now it's just like you're throwing anything against the wall, hoping it sticks.
She was like a little bit of a late night Twitter rant where it just kept being a thing that wasn't like very human. And I think that's when you lose that, the show isn't as interesting. I've been watching a lot of reruns of season 5, 6, and 7 of Real Housewives of New York, and they're so wonderful. And then even going into like a season 7 when Dorinda's there, I think you have to go back to the moments in terms of the show production, even where you follow the things that get under people's skin. If you notice, back when Dorinda was saying clip, 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 or not well, bitch.
Clip.
Those moments weren't derived by like somebody saying, oh, well, there's a screenshot of a this or a that. Like, and I feel like the shows kind of went to that, or you need like a Jen Shah moment. And I feel like if you really break down, like you said, a compelling cast, because it's always about the cast. It's always about the cast. If you break down a compelling cast, they should be able to sort of create like little frustrations amongst each other, and nothing was better than that clip moment, which made no sense, but Dorinda did it. So that's kind of like, I think, where we go. You got a Brynn type where she's always arcing and playing the audience a little bit. So it's unfortunate she didn't work out, because she could have. I don't agree with you that I didn't like all of them. I thought Aaron was great. I think a couple of them had their moments. I learned to love Sai season 2. I feel like Sai season 3 would have been good, but I also think she doesn't need the show, right? So there's that too.
Yeah, I mean, look, at the end of the day, is the Housewife franchise boring and dead? I mean, I don't know. I mean, what do you think of? I don't like Atlanta this year. I thought it was going to be good, and then the whole thing that happened with Kenya, I thought it was bullshit, to be perfectly honest, because it's like all of a sudden the production company, the network's like, oh my God, we didn't know Kenya was going to do that. Bull fucking shit. I've had a reality show. I have been on set of millions of reality shows. You fucking know that shit is coming. No talent's going to hold up a billboard poster board of someone giving another person without production knowing beforehand. And that's what happened, FYI. And then everybody said, oh, we got to have her off because you can't put down this and you can't do this. And that's, I blame production for not stopping her beforehand, because I do think Kenya makes for good TV. And I kind of liked her at the beginning of this season. I felt like she was like, you had a little bit of the old Kenya, but she was sort of older and wiser. And I kind of like dug it. And we're invested in her story. Like, so like, just to get her abruptly off, I was just like, I love Shamia. I think Shamia is great. I love Portia, but I hate the other cat. Shamia, Portia, I mean, Cynthia, having her come in, and I know Phaedra comes in. That I'll give it a shot. I hope that, I hope maybe mixing a little bit of the Phaedras and Cynthia in the new and the old, and maybe it will be good. But it started out good, then it was lackluster, and I hope it continues. I hope it picks up being good again. Otherwise, I could take it or leave it. I mean, honestly, I used to love all of the Housewives, and now, honestly, I could have it on the background, be scrolling TikTok, miss big chunks.
Wait a minute, but staying there though. So is Kenya being let go an overcorrection? A, and then B, obviously Phaedra, said some stuff as it pertains to Candy, and that's where she sort of, vacated the show, and then eventually came back to Traders, eventually came back to Married to Medicine, and then eventually came back to the show. Do you see a moment where Kenya ever comes back, or do you think Kenya Moore is done with this show and Bravo in particular? And if she is, where does she go next? What's the move if you're managing her or you're doing training or consulting for her?
If Kenya does not sue them, I see an opportunity where she can come back. But if she hires legal counsel and tries to sue them, you know what I mean? Why isn't the production company, protecting her to a certain degree? Why did they hang her out to dry? If she doesn't get legal counsel and doesn't sue Bravo, I think there's a world that she can come back.
Okay. All right. Well, let's see what we had on our list. That was all just us talking off the top. We had on our list, we were going to talk about...
Did you remember to like, comment, and subscribe? Oh, come on. Stop being so lazy. This show has no budget, but whose fault is that if you don't like, comment, or subscribe?
Okay, so Marki, so we're talking about people who've sort of vacated these big shows, like a Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, Lisa Rinna, Gabrielle Union, I was going to say, Garcelle Beauvais leaving Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. What are your thoughts on like Lisa Rinna kind of just being the superstar no matter where she's at, or even just these big cast members leaving the show. A lot of people really don't seem to take to it, but I think it's a different situation if you have 20 years sort of building up your career. You might not get as dirty or in the weeds as another cast member because that's quote unquote all they have. Do you feel that a little bit, like what I'm saying?
Well, first of all, I mean, I knew Rinna was always going to be okay if she left the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. I mean, I think Rinna is living literally after the Housewives of Beverly Hills, her best life ever. I mean, she's at every fashion show. Like the picture, she just got like this amazing brand deal with her daughter. She's getting tons of brand deals. She launched her own lip gloss and lip liner, you know, because of her big lips. Like, I think Lisa Rinna's living her best life. And I think she was strategic. I think the platform of the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills introduced her to a whole new audience that people didn't know her. But I think she has that ability to sort of constantly reinvent herself. That's the true key to success, FYI, is I will say, like, look at Jake and Logan Paul, whether you love them or hate them. But what they're brilliant at is you got to constantly be pivoting with a purpose, reinventing, pivoting with a purpose, reinvention, pivoting with a purpose. You can't stay stagnant just because you have a platform. You have to go, okay, I have this platform. Now, what can this platform help me pivot to with purpose to the next thing? And so on and so on. So I think Lisa was brilliant in pivoting to another platform and elevating herself. I think, you know,
and in many ways, she's like what we talked about with Joan Rivers, how we were like, she was known for this at this era, and then she needed to be known for this in a different era. And, you know, both of them, I mean, I'm not trying to put Lisa Rinna in Joan Rivers' category, but both of them had no qualms about just doing the silliest, most asinine thing to sell the product and have fun with it too. Because it's not just selling the product in desperation. Like, they were in on the gag, they were in on the joke. And I think that's what makes Lisa Rinna special.
It's not about them. The reason why every time they reinvented themselves for a new audience. And so, like, I remember Joan.
Well, that's pivoting then. Okay.
Yeah. I remember Joan saying, hey, I'd always have this calendar and it would tell me what was coming up in the next 6 to 7 months. And 9 times out of 10, it was full. When I would go look at it and it wasn't full, I would panic. And that's when she did Celebrity Apprentice, because she was like, I need a whole new demographic, a whole new audience to get to know who I am. So when she won Celebrity Apprentice and she was all over the press and this and that and did the show, like, a whole new audience got to know her.
For more randomness, hit the Patreon at patreon.com/randomlyronniejr. Did you remember to like, comment, and subscribe? Oh, come on, stop being so lazy. This show has no budget, but whose fault is that if you don't like, comment, or subscribe?
Yeah, no, Lisa Rinna is one of a kind. And, you know, her even doing that show for as many years, it was like a treat, you know. So I wonder what they're going to do with that series, because it isn't as compelling as it used to be. You know, I don't know what you do. Do you bring in somebody who is unknown and building, or do you bring in somebody we already know? I mean, there was talks of Debbie Matenopoulos should do the show, which I think would be great. Oh, no?
No, I think, I love Debbie Matt. I mean, I've known her for years. I love Debbie Matt. You know what? I think Debbie's a Sagittarius like me. I think Debbie would infuse some fun into that show.
Yeah, I think every show, or specifically that one, needs like a Carol Radswell character. Wait, what did you just say? Like, where they're not necessarily angry or frustrated or mad, but they call everyone on these like fibs and stretches of imagination. I think that's what that show needs for sure.
They'll miss that with Garcelle. Like, Garcelle was very strategic and good about sort of another Sagittarius, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
She was very good about like, well, what about this? But how come this? Like, and she did it in a way that, like, she would sort of get people, like, you know, the pot little stirred, but she was still likable and had like integrity doing it. You know what I mean? And I felt like Garcelle was very tapped into like, well, the audience would want to know this, or
right.
I think.
Were you in the popular opinion, which was it felt like a lot of commentary was like, oh, when she finally was the one in the hot seat, she just buckled. And I don't know if I was mentioning it earlier. It's like, I don't think that she buckled. I just think if you're coming into the show in a different cachet, I don't know that you're going to want to, like, do
what hot seat was she in? I think she was just pissed that she had Sutton's back the whole fucking season and Sutton didn't have her back. Sutton had everybody's back that didn't have Sutton's back. And so I think Garcelle was just like, this is bullshit. I don't need it anymore. Like, her acting and producing career and writing career, like her production company's doing so well. I think the brand was amazing for Garcelle's brand. But once again, I think Garcelle will survive without this platform because I think she's pivoted with purpose and I think she'll do just fine,
So
Erica Jane, I think, would do just fine if the show went away. I think Erica Jane has a cult following. The gays love her. You know what I mean? She's just cheeky, like,
and she's weathered the storm too. She really has.
Storm. It makes her real and relatable. I think Erica will do just fine. Kaya will do just fine. Listen, if she divorces Mauricio, she's going to be just fine. I think Sutton sucks. Sutton sucks. Hashtag Sutton sucks. I can't stand Sutton Strack. I love Jennifer Tilly, but I don't know if Jennifer's any good without Sutton. I think that show needs to be infused with some Real Housewives, FYI. No one's fucking married. No one's a real housewife. You know what I mean?
Go back to basics. Yes.
Go back to basics. Get
well,
back.
You know a lot of people. You grew up in Los
They
Angeles.
call me all the time. They want Michelle Merkin. They want this one. They want that one. But the people that I know
would be great. And I feel like she had that moment so many years ago, and then kind of did she move away or something?
No, she married a billionaire. Michelle,
but I'm saying,
she doesn't. She
doesn't need it.
She doesn't need it. She would never risk her relationship with her.
Do you
husband.
remember in that demo reel years ago where you had the photo and you had to like sign the photo for her, but it was like,
oh yeah.
I mean, when you managed her years ago,
but Merkin, they would love to have someone like Merkin, but Merkin's smart enough to realize she doesn't need the platform. You know what I mean? She lives a fabulous, she's a real housewife that they would die to have her, but she would never do it. I mean, I've asked her and talked to her and said, would you ever even remotely think about it? She's like, absolutely not. And rightfully so, because look how every marriage ends.
Yeah, no, you're right. But these are good comments of what can happen with that show, Beverly Hills, what needs to happen, the pivoting, then revitalizing it a little bit. We're going to talk about maybe some Jeff Lewis. Had you always expected him to be as big as he is? And hold your thought there. I want to ask you what you think. We've expressed these opinions on text message. Is Heather McDonald the ultimate podcaster? Don't say nothing yet, just wait. But right now, Marki, I want to talk about somebody who I originally found in your class when we were taking classes years ago, and the success of Michelle Buteau as a comedian and survival of the Thickest. Are you watching the Netflix show? Are you? Tell me all your feelings with Michelle Buteau. Is she that girl? Is she,
Let me tell you about Michelle Buteau. Michelle Buteau, when she did my boot camp and then started taking ongoing classes, absolutely did I know she was something special. I actually tried to help her and she got a job and we didn't end up doing the job and it kind of we left in a weird place. But look, rightfully so, she shouldn't have done the job with me because look where her career has gone. But she was brilliant, so funny, so likable, you know what I mean? And I always knew that she was going to be successful. So am I surprised about her success? Absolutely not. To be honest, when I first saw her hosting The Circle on Netflix, I was like, she's way too good for The Circle. Meaning I want it, we don't need to just see her face for a second and hear her voice. She's too big for that. Literally, she's just too big of a personality. I couldn't be happier for all of her success. Well-deserved, and to a very funny, talented person that I knew that had the it factor the minute they walked in the front door. And
that's the thing. It's the stick with itness that is necessary, because even at that time when she did your class,
you got to have that it factor. You always wanted to watch her when she was up there working. You know what I mean? Yeah. She was always
you've seen different things over the years, like these comedy specials, and it's just it still takes a while for it to hit. But going back to the classes, where again Marki did the host training and teleprompter and brand and all these things.
I do. That's what I do.
When we do the classes, she was in a group, because I was there working in the office with you. She was in a group with other heavy hitters, like a Carrie Champion, and I can't even remember everybody, but it was a really strong batch of talent. But for Michelle to do so well, to create the book that turned into the show, and to get I think they're greenlit for a third season, it's really cool. One of the times back in New York, I went to go see one of her comedy specials. I think it was like a Comedy Central when that was still an exciting thing. Sometimes you don't necessarily want that now. You could do it on your own, but it's been really cool. I love the show too. The show makes sense. It's funny. We need funny. Absolutely.
100%.
Okay. So let me ask you about the success of Jeff Lewis. Had you always, you watch all the shows, but then the training and exactly what is captivating and casting. Had you always known he was going to be this successful on a platform like SiriusXM?
I loved him in Flipping Out. I loved him and his relationship with Jenny. I loved how they had that chemistry. I loved how freakish he was with like his OCD and all of that stuff because I have OCD. I actually did. I did interior therapy, the show that he did where they like went into a couple's house and he redid my house in the Palisades. And so when I met him in person and we did interior therapy, I actually thought he was a real fucking asshole. I was like, God, he just goes out of his way to be an asshole. But then, on the second or third day, I actually was like, oh, there's a method to his assholeness. Because at first I was like, oh, he really liked Tommy, who was my baby daddy, my boyfriend at the time, Finn's dad. And Tommy's a good looking guy, an artist, brooding, played lacrosse, you know what I mean? But he's an idiot. And he was like a moocher and a loser. And I thought, God, is Jeff so easily swayed by someone like Tommy? But then Jeff got it towards the end. And I was like, oh, okay, there was a method to sort of him reading people. So no, am I surprised about his SiriusXM success? No, or his version of Chump Con where he goes to Vegas like BravoCon. And no, I think it's fabulous. I think good for him.
Yeah.
And he just redid his deal. I think what is great about Jeff that we don't get from Andy, no offense, because Andy just has to kiss everybody's ass and he can't really give us any real scoop, like, you know what I mean? But
what do you mean don't get to? He doesn't get to?
No, because he works for the network on Watch What Happens Live, and he's an executive producer.
Your hands are tied a little. Yeah.
Not a little. Your hands are tied a lot because if the network is going to look at, like when I was coaching the Love Island and they go, hey, we have 5 more minutes to fill of this session. And I said, okay, I sat them down on the couch and I said, okay, I'm going to ask you all the questions the audience really wants to know the answer to. Where do you shit in the villa? What happens if you're a girl and you have your period? Are people in the shower? How many showers are there? What happens when your nails need a fill? How do you do your laundry? And they sat down and they answered all of these rapid fire questions that, in reality TV, no one ever answers. And like the producers and everybody came up to me and they were like, that was just such a fun segment because once again, it's stuff that we don't ever get to hear, but you guys were there. Andy's there. He knows the inside scoop. Just give us a little tidbit, but I guess you can't because he can't also, if he knows what happened on episode 2 and, or episode 7, but we're only seeing episode 2 airing and he has them on Watch What Happens Live. He can't obviously go forward, but I like how Jeff has a good, like, he'll be like, I like how he has the Housewives on or different Bravo celebrities on his show. And they really chat about things that we don't get on Watch What Happens Live. So I think he serves an amazing purpose into that franchise.
So he's like in it with the content, but he's outside of it where he doesn't have to like be a conflict of interest like Andy, has to sort of for the sake of the shows.
He works for SiriusXM. He doesn't work for Bravo. Even though I know he's doing a deal with them to have a new show on Bravo, but his employer is Sirius. So, he doesn't have to kiss the asses of the Bravo celebrities and not spill too many things. No, he can be the polar opposite.
Would you ever do a serious deal like that where you were like, I know you love your freedom within your work and as an entrepreneur, would you ever want to do a deal where you were kind of stuck into the space where you have to do a show daily, although they might not?
I cast the very first Bachelor Nation. My company, Marki Costello, cast season 1 of The Bachelor.
Mm-hmm.
And when it was we didn't know it was going to be a huge phenomenon success because back in that day, we would do one show, go on to another show, go on to another show. And I'm managing and I'm teaching and I'm casting reality and casting hosts and, just boom, 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 hustle, grind. And when the show was such a huge hit, I remember Mike Fleiss, the creator at the time, said to me, I want you in-house. You're going to close your company, come in-house, work for me, blah, 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 blah. And immediately I was like, absolutely not. Sorry, take Lacey, who worked in my office, who I love and adore, but no, I wasn't. No.
Yeah, because that way you could kind of do every new deal along this journey on your own accord. Okay. Got it. Well, if SiriusXM had a deal for me, I would take it because, this has been a long journey. Anyways,
Right.
So I was going to ask you possibly about your thoughts on the talent of Nick Viall. I was maybe going to talk about that, and maybe we will get there. But I wanted to say, because we had talked about this a bit ago, I was like, who do you think is like one of the ultimate like Bravo yet pop culture commentators? And I was like, is it Heather McDonald? What do you think, Marki? With your skill set and your experience. And you said,
I think Nick Viall's way better than Heather McDonald. Heather is part of a crew. Like back in the day when I was casting, I'd bring Heather in all the time. There was like a group of like these comics, like Heather McDonald, Helen Keeney. I forget the other girl's name, and they would come in all the time. And like, I remember I was doing these castings for like TBS, like Dinner and a Movie.
Those interstitial kind of things.
The interstitials. And I would bring all of them in all the time when I was casting. Because like, if I liked you, you were going to come in for every show I cast. And I remember one of the producers on the TBS show said, will you be a guest on our Dinner and a Movie? It was a late night show, not with Paul and Annabelle, but it was after that. It was like we were at a bar watching a movie, having the guests from the movie and chatting about the industry. And I remember Heather and those girls were like mean girls going, well, I don't understand why she's on camera when she's supposed to be casting us. And, what, like, and it was just like, come on, like, think outside of the box. I have never been the girl that does one thing. I am a Sagittarius. I am fire. I have my passport constantly in my purse. If someone says, hop on a plane, I am on a plane. I am trains, planes, automobile. So if someone says, hey, do you want to come on and be a guest on our show and we'll put you in SAG and AFTRA and pay you $1,500 for an hour and you get hair and makeup? I'm gone. I'm there. You know what I mean? Meaning, why did that infringe upon you guys were auditioning for the hosts and I was just a random guest on it, and they would get butthurt that the casting director was on camera.
But see, you said you started your career where you could do, going to the auditions and booking things, but you felt like, you know what, I want to have a longevity versus like always being at the mercy of like, somebody giving you an opportunity. So really, it's not like you were doing something you didn't know how to do. It's like when I work in production, but if I could do like a radio gig, I think this happened with the VH1 thing I was doing once where I was like willing to contribute, but not because I was like thinking anything. It's just, yes, the job is the production, but if I see the talent, sort of, needs a little nudge, I would like to like jump in for the sake of the thing. But
Right.
So you think maybe Heather was jealous in that moment, or do you think
I heard them like other people would tell me the shit that they would say, like just like how they would bring it up, how they thought
because there's no doubt about it. She is very, very talented, very funny.
I brought her in constantly when I was casting. So if clearly I thought she was talented, I loved her. There was like a group of girls back in the day and I would bring them in all the time when I was casting. And when you're casting hosts, you always want comics. So I was tapped into all the comedy clubs. I would have all the female comics come in. And so the Chelseas, the Whitneys, you know what I mean? The Heathers, the Helens, there's so many, I can't even think of them off the top of my head. Janine Garofalo. So many of them back in the day. But she was just, I just heard like her and two other girls that were like going like, well, why is our casting director taking our job on camera? Well, first of all, I'm not taking your job on camera. And let me just tell you how the industry works. Anybody who's listening to this that doesn't understand, the casting director has no say. We bring in the people, and the director and the network and the production company, they decide. Our job is just to go out of 20 million actors out there. Marki, you bring in the 100 that you think are the best ones for this job. Our job is to weed through, and then we read them and we go, no, and put him on tape. Don't put her on tape. Weed through it. And then we give it to the network and the production company, and they then decide. So if all of a sudden they go, Marki, you're so funny. We love working with you. We want you to be a guest. Should I be like, absolutely not, because people that I'm bringing in for auditions are going to be butthurt. I don't live my life like that. I was like, I'm going to do what's good for me. And I did it. I had fun.
And not that we're doing comparative, like who's the best, because by the way, it's not just Nick Viall, it's not just Heather. There's so many wonderful people that are like really creating fun, interesting content. But you did say you think maybe Nick's a little bit more talented than Heather in terms of the show,
I think
their respective shows.
I think they're very different. I think Heather's very juicy, gossipy and like fun and salacious and silly and funny, where I think Nick, he's not funny. He really sort of loves reality, breaks down reality, gets great guests, way better guests than her, in my opinion. I don't see any of the secret lives of the Mormon wives on Juicy Scoop. I mean, I could be wrong, but Nick Viall, I see he has every great guest. And what I do love about Nick is he will go after the questions that we all want to know. Demi, did you sleep with this one? Like, Jesse, are you getting divorced because we don't see you with your ring anymore? And everybody's talking about you and the kid from, Vanderpump Villa. Like, I like
Marki, you love the tough questions, don't you? You like you like to get right in it.
I love to get right into it. I say, why waste the audience's time?
But see, I don't think. Okay, let's problem solve and understand.
Well, why do I give a shit about people that I don't know just giving their opinion? Who gives a fuck?
Yeah, but I'm saying Heather's show's still an interesting show. It's still an entertaining show. I enjoy it. I do like.
Well, you enjoy it. I'm not a big fan. I just find it every once in a while. I like a little clip I'll see on TikTok or Instagram, the little sound bite, and I'll enjoy it. But
yeah. Do you think this is what I think could have possibly happened? And we're just talking of these two. Nick kind of just fell into this stuff. Not saying the hard work wasn't there, and I think there's a lighterness that you have. You're very light because of that. It's kind of like with me, I get to be grumpy Gus a lot of times just because I've been at the same thing for so long. I can't wait for me to like fall into something different, and then it's just so like a lighter experience. And for Heather, I feel like even if she does have that where it's like tougher with the bookings or tougher with who she has as guests or whatever the case, I feel like she's kind of tight. She's kind of like holding up a lot because she's had bumps and bruises enough in the career. So maybe it's that. Do you kind of see what I'm saying a little bit? Only because I do it a little bit. I definitely do. It's something I work on, like it's not as fun for me because this is what I've set out 20 years ago when I was an intern, and I think Heather has a little bit of that where she's like, everyone's phoning it in, and she like actually has a skill set. She did her thing at the Groundlings. Like she's actually really talented.
Yeah, look, I mean, like I said, all those Groundling girls are super talented. All those comics, Groundlings. I mean, that was our stomping ground to get people to come in, meaning no one knew that world better than me. Is Heather talented? Yes, but I think you've got to be very smart to constantly pivot with a purpose. I think the content she's doing now, where it's like, hey, I'm Heather and I'm funny and I have this great fan base with juicy gossip but I just don't need to hear her opinion, where Nick puts his opinion in, but he's got the person there.
Then a lot of the advice you give me on making me better, in terms of you want to see me win, guaranteed. Like I know that and I feel it and I receive it from you. But it's always that same thing. When you text me, it's always like to make it a better show. And I think maybe
don't make it so much about you, but what does the audience want? What could I ask for the audience?
Yes, you said that already. Yes, you said that.
Yes. And I think Nick operates from that place automatically of, wow, the audience has so many choices. You know what I mean? TikTok, Instagram, Patreon, Substack, YouTube. We have so many places to get content that if we choose the Viall Files, he really chooses us by having these great guests and asking the questions we want to know the answers to. And he keeps his show to a good, 45 minutes, an hour. It's not too long. He's very mindful of it. And I like that. All right, Ronnie, I've got to jump. I love you.
Thank you. I can't believe the light fell while we were doing this. I didn't have a stand, so I was over here trying to look. I mean, I was thinking, Marki knows this world more than anybody, so she's gonna be mean to me. Like, oh,
I would never be mean, Ronnie.
No, but I thought you were gonna say, oh, he's unprofessional. So honestly, like I've been sweating the whole episode. How about that? And no cocaine issue to be had.
And no cocaine issue. Ronnie, well, I love you and I'm proud of you. You've been so consistent. You keep hustling. Just remember your audience. Constantly remember, what could I do with this person in my audience? I told this to my son, Lucas, the other day, because he does videos on food called Squirtworthy, and they're really funny and cheeky. And he's maybe gotten 5,000 followers in 4 months. And when a video does well, like I'll be like, oh, I knew that was going to do well, Lucas, because no one knows about that place in LA and it's such a fun hot spot. And so I always remind him, if that video did well, then your audience wants more of that. So like, what's the
Keep
other
feeding
one?
it. Yeah.
Keep feeding it. So listen to your audience. They're number one.
Yeah.
Doing what you're doing, whatever ones that do well, go through all your Patreon. Which one got the most views?
Well, do you want to feel special? Do you want to
What?
feel special? Maybe some of the ones that did well were with you. Because, you know, we have fun together. You bring out something in me. Yeah, maybe. And by the way, the only critique I was going to do for you, as we said earlier.
Oh, hell no, you don't get to critique the queen.
You chewed me out. All it was one simple thing. And it was, I looked on Instagram and I was like, it was like 3 hours. It was like 3 hours ago. Marki Costello barely started following you. I was like, what?
You know why? Because I follow you on Become a Host or CMEG, but on all of a sudden on my Marki, my personal one, all these people came up, which I have more people on my personal than my other ones. I wish it could just combine everything, and I've got to figure out how to do that. But you're absolutely right. I was like, why the fuck aren't I following randomly Ronnie on my personal, which I am now because I love
But I didn't bring it up because earlier on you were like, so I was like, you know what? I'm not ready. I need peace and serenity. Okay. Hey, we'll do this every couple months because this is always a good time.
Absolutely. And I guarantee you, yours and mine get the most views.
Yeah. No, it is. It's fun. And it's fun though. But that's number one. Fun, and then everything else materializes. Okay. Gotta go.
Love you.